Hello, my friends. I was actually gone for a couple days. I don't know if you noticed. I was getting fiber optic internet installed. So hopefully this video is coming to you at the speed of light. If not, then maybe I've been had. Anyway, today we're talking about cancel culture, and more specifically, how I don't really care about it. And I hope you don't mind indulging me in an old man ramble for at least a couple of minutes. I've talked about my pre-political past on YouTube a few times now. I think I've done at least 2 videos on it. If you're new, this channel only really started getting into politics basically around Gamergate, and before that it was game playthroughs, which are now over on my Game Boomers channel, and before that they were anime reviews. You know, that guy with the glasses styled anime reviews, all the way back in 2009. It was me and 2 friends. We were a lot younger and we were just having fun. That's why the channel's name is Short Fat Otaku, because we were all otakus. But that also means that I have a lot of old friends from other parts of the internet that aren't political. In fact, parts that should be apolitical, like anime, like video games, let's plays, that kind of stuff. Places where, frankly, politics really shouldn't be injected, one way or the other. Now, while I was offline getting that internet installed, I actually got removed from a Discord of people that I used to be friends with a long time ago. And no, I am not asking you to cancel them. That's why I've censored all of their names. I just want to discuss the topic, if you don't mind. I want you to read a little bit with me, just so we can discuss the nature of places that really should be apolitical, like non-politics side of YouTube, and how they've become politicized, and how the people in those spaces believe that that is morally justifiable, okay? It's been brought to our attention by several members of our community that due to your past actions and current content, people are uncomfortable with you continuing to be in the Discord. We are aware that you think those people of different political views can coexist, but unfortunately when your views and actions cause harm and fear in others, that's not the case. As to what views and actions we're talking about, I'll show you in a bit. I understand that we have history. When we were just 2 gaming channels, despite being different, I appreciated our friendship. However, as much as I respect the ideal of looking past differing views, there's a line that I can't cross. The history of your words and ideals go against my own, my friends, and radiate a hatred that I can't tolerate in my community. Apparently I radiate hatred, okay. I hope you understand. We're just too different, and even if you don't think we are, I hope you respect and understand that I do. And I mean, fair enough. Ultimately, this is their Discord, not mine. It is not my place to complain. They have their rules, and even though I think that they're completely ridiculous, it's their place. It's not mine. I would not do this in my Discord. I personally do not tolerate any kind of xenophobia in the slightest. We are all about creating a safe and caring environment for everyone, for people to be themselves and feel like they belong. It's actually sad whenever a friendship ends due to what basically amounts to Trump derangement syndrome. But let me show you my offense, okay? We've been provided with screenshots of both old and recent SFO comments, content, and remarks, and so we've banned him. If you have interacted with his content because of this Discord, or been offended by his actions, we're deeply sorry. I'm sorry you had to watch a YouTube video of me, dude. Provided below is one of the screenshots we received that pushed us to act. Please know that in this community, we aim to make all people of all races, genders, and backgrounds feel welcome and safe. And you know what? Frankly, so do I. But I would also add of political persuasions into that as well. Xenophobia, transphobia, I don't know if you'd accuse me of transphobia, knowing my porn history, and any other form of intolerance will not be tolerated. Please reach out to a mod if you're feeling unsafe. We're here to keep this community one of acceptance and friendship. So here's the actual thing that got me the boot, and I think you can recognize what it is just by looking at it, eh? That's right, it's this tweet, dudes. The one where I found a bunch of people who were proudly undocumented or proudly illegal immigrants, as stated in their own fucking bios on Twitter, and then tagged them into a thread with ICE. And I even say in the thread, it's not about xenophobia. If you want to live in a nation, immigrate properly. I say it right here, and I still feel that way. If you want to live in a nation, immigrate properly. This is not a race issue. I'm not racist. This is certainly not a xenophobic issue. I am not afraid of or hateful towards people who come from different places or have different backgrounds. They are all welcome to immigrate properly to the West. They are all welcome to follow the rules, contribute to the society that they arrive in, and be a net positive to those around them. This isn't white nationalism or something nonsense like that. It's, in fact, the alt-right calls me a civnat wet noodle or something. Of course, you can also make the argument that, hey, despite that, maybe you shouldn't be tagging people in with ICE. You know, it's like sicking the cops on them. It's like the guy who narcs out. One, ICE doesn't actually watch their Twitter account, and I knew this when I made this. It was a fucking troll. And two, if you don't want to be deported, don't put proud illegal immigrant in the bio of your Twitter, you morons. But of course that context doesn't really matter when it comes to smaller groups like this. Like, get this. When he said he was centrist, that was a big red flag. To somebody who is on the radical left, the centrist might as well be the Nazi. They might as well be the radical right. Because the centrist position is actually strong borders and legal immigration. That's the centrist position. The radical right position is strong borders, no immigration, and deportation of those they don't want there, even if they were there legally, like sending black people back to Africa or something. Meanwhile, the radical left position is no borders, no immigration system at all, pure unfettered movement of people. But to these people, the centrist position is too radical for them, which shows you how far left they've gone. And I can already hear their objections, and I understand them. The radical lefty will say that the centrist person is just like the right because, in practice, they just won't accept people of color or something. Fair enough, that might actually happen. However, the radical right person says that the centrist position might as well be the radical left position because people will simply refuse to enforce border laws and don't care when illegals come through, which is kind of what happened under Bill Clinton. So their positions are equal but opposite. They believe the centrist to not be extreme enough for them, so therefore they must be extreme in the other way. Fundamentally, they have no idea what nuance is. I always view it as a mark of pride when somebody who thinks this way, in fact, also thinks my content is hateful and cruel. That's simply part of speaking the uncomfortable truths. However, it was never going to be about how I could argue my case, or how I could show them how I'm not actually some kind of hateful bigot for holding these opinions, and in fact, these opinions not only have their basis in reality, but in some cases seem to be objectively true regarding certain things about governance. But it was never going to be about making a convincing argument, it was always going to be ideological. Nothing blatantly offensive was said in this Discord. The ban was entirely decided on because of his actions outside of the Discord. So it's just like Facebook, banning you for stuff that you do off-platform, or Patreon, or whoever else. It's the nonsense we've been fighting everywhere, just on a much smaller scale, because this Discord had like 50 people in it or something. Now, I've actually got, I think, 5 people in there who are still, like, sending me messages and being like, LOL, have you seen what they've done now? And they did delete all of my messages, so I can't actually show you the rather tame political conversations that I had in their channel meant for heavier topics. But I can show you the reaction of their admins. I'm not having a fun discussion. This has been entirely unpleasant. This is in retaliation, by the way, to me saying that, at the very least, Trump isn't a fascist because fascists economically like to centralize and control everything happening in their state. All of the private economic activity is at least in some way regulated by them, while Trump has been going on a massive deregulatory spree. That is the actions of like an ANCAP almost, not a fascist. This person also believes that the Discord is a safe space for those who Trump has oppressed. I don't think he's actually personally grabbed you by the pussy. My refusal to agree to this statement is actually what got the ball rolling on this. Can we all agree that Trump is an absolute monster and by far the worst president possible? He has been openly sexist, he's racist, a pedophile, a rapist, his politics are terrible, he's an absolute idiot. But in terms of all of it, he is a monster and the worst. We can debate his garbage politics all day, but in the end, hate crimes, assault, and white supremacy have grown louder and stronger. Human garbage has one of the biggest platforms on Earth. You all know that I am neutral to Trump. He has done some things that I like, particularly economically. He has done other things that I don't like. For example, there was some LGBT stuff that Trump recently did that I actually openly oppose. I also oppose his stance on flag burning. You should be able to burn whatever flag you like. But my neutrality on him was apparently the big issue. Here's probably the funniest exchange of all. Again, you can't see my replies here because I've deleted all my messages. Unfortunately, you'll just have to take me at my word here. The admin, who at this point has always been the person in red, she says that I'm obviously a white person. And I say, well, no, I'm Métis. Which is like a half joke. I guess technically I am, but it doesn't really matter, right? For those of you who don't know, Métis is it's a Canadian term for people who have a mixture of white and Native American heritage. And the reason that we use that term is because they were basically rejected from both the white and native communities back in the day, so they like formed their own community, and they are distinctly their own thing culturally. However, I am not Métis in any real sense. I don't look Métis. I don't practice any of the culture. I just happen to have a native ancestor back there somewhere. So it doesn't really matter. And in response to this, she says, if you look white, you reap the benefits. That's just a fact. My reply, which is where the white line would be like, oh, that's actually like bisexual people. And that is, in fact, the truth. If you are not white, but you're white passing, you get white privilege. In the same vein, if you're bisexual and you're straight passing, then you have access to straight privilege. Like if you have an opposite gender partner and you're walking around outside and you're holding hands with them and you very clearly appear to be a heterosexual couple, even though you're bi, you have access to straight privilege. And that offended these people. What the fuck? Excuse me? I'd explain that ASAP. I didn't really get a chance to honestly explain it all that well because the conversation moved on. But I actually recall this from a feminist point of view. I think, what was her name? Dr. Jenny Roth? I gotta look it up. Yeah, Dr. Jenny Roth. I don't know why her photo is upside down on Lakehead University's website, but I took a few of her gender studies classes when I was in university back there. And she is a bisexual woman, and she once said in her lectures that bisexual people have access to straight privilege, and that ultimately it is a double-edged sword, because in some ways your queerness is erased, and that could be, in fact, damaging to your identity, at least from the feminist point of view. But at the same time, you also get access to straight privilege. People who would look down upon flamboyantly gay people, for example, or people in openly homosexual relationships, they will give you a pass. They won't think anything of you, even though you're actually bisexual. And she said she experienced, as a bisexual woman, both of those events, both gaining access to the privilege and also losing access to the identity. But these people don't care about that nuance. Even though the exact same logic is used to say that you have white privilege, even if you're not actually white, when you apply that same logic to bisexuality, it's apparently completely offensive. Even though it is not only the same logic, but confirmed by the real-life feminists that I know. So far, I've kind of been indulging myself here, and I think that's why I made this a devtrospective video instead of a main SFO video, because I'm talking more off the cuff, and I'm talking about stuff that's closer to me. This is a personal encounter, and by the way, that is the reason why I censored everyone's names. I do not want you to go after these people. I certainly do not want cancel culture to descend upon them. Although, as an aside, would it surprise you to know that the person speaking in red, that this is who they are? Yeah, I had a feeling like 5 years ago, the minute that relationship started, the friendship was over, unfortunately. It just took us this long to get there. Okay, that was a low blow, I know, but that one was just for me personally. And besides, we all know somebody like this, don't we? With the dyed hair and the glasses attempting to appear unique, who talks about how progressive and moral they are, who talks about having the right politics, but ultimately is just a cover for them being fundamentally a nasty person. And believe it or not, this is not a video about me ranting about old friends. It's not. Because I realized something while this was happening to me. That if these people had any actual power, they would have wielded it against me. Because in this tiny space, where it's a Discord of only a few dozen people, they still couldn't resist doing what every single person does whenever they engage in some kind of cancel culture nonsense. And I'm guilty of this too. I jumped on the pro-Jared bandwagon last year, and I was wrong. I should not have done that, and that's the main reason I'm refusing to jump on the Angry Joe bandwagon and the Twitch Blackout people and all this stuff, all these accusations coming out right now. I will not make the same mistake again. It was a moral failing on my part that I did that, and frankly, but for the grace of God go I. If these people who had thrown me out of their Discord actually had, say, millions of followers instead of, a couple thousand or something, if they actually had the ability to do so, if they actually had a presence, I do believe that there would have been an attempt, partially organic and grassroots and partially not, to have me cancelled over those old ICE tweets. And then I had to ask myself, why do I care about being cancelled so much? And after thinking it through, I realized that I just don't anymore. It's as simple as that. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of cancel culture. I'm tired of knee-jerk reacting to everything. It's emotionally draining. I'm tired of baselessly accusing people or adding to other people's accusations when there's no solid proof behind them. It makes me feel immoral. I'm tired of being pressured to care about stuff. Maybe it sounds selfish of me, but I have two people in my life who are very close to me who, on some level, I am at least partially caring for. I'm working as hard as I can, oftentimes more than 12 hours a day every day at the YouTube thing, the streaming thing. I know for some of you it's your dream job. It's my dream job too. I wouldn't trade it for the world, but that's not to say that it's not work. Maybe I'm just a weakling, but it is somewhat draining just to get through life sometimes. And I'm tired of being pressured to care about stuff that on some level I just don't care about. And now I'm going to be cancelled and called a bad person, a racist, a Nazi, an alt-right, or whatever, because I'm not caring in the right way, because I'm not posting hashtag Black Lives Matter in my tweets, I'm not flying an LGBTQ flag, I'm not changing my avatar to a black square or a COVID awareness banner or whatever the most recent social media nonsense is. I'm tired of being forced to give a shit. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of being told that my sense of humor is now no longer valid when those same people engaged in it 5 or 10 years ago. I'm tired of being told that my view on Islam is hateful and bigoted and xenophobic when the exact same people said the exact same thing about Christianity back during the Bush and Obama years. I guess it's okay to discriminate against gay people if your skin is brown or something. I still think edgy, 4chan, Newgrounds style humor is funny, and I'm tired of pretending that I don't. I'm tired of being told that the mainstream center-left positions that I hold politically now make me a white nationalist and a Nazi. And the on-the-ground effect of all of this stuff is cancel culture. For example, when the riots heated up in the United States, JonTron posted this variant of the "I just wanna grill" meme. The accompanying tweet said, "These last few days, along with everyone else, have made me feel incredibly sad. Through these uncertain times, I hope to bring laughter to your lives through my continued videos. Please stay safe out there. Peace." A completely reasonable reaction, and the internet tried to cancel him over it, because he was not explicitly endorsing one point of view over another. Even though that's not his job, he's an entertainer, he's not a political pundit. And here's his response to getting cancelled. What, we're doing the COVID sequel already? Man, they're really just starting to recycle ideas at this point. I'm just gonna go watch reruns of Occupy Wall Street. And I get it, it's funny, but this is what he says to people trying to cancel him over being politically neutral, over staying in the center, over not publicly grandstanding, over not virtue signaling. We all think virtue signaling is cringy as fuck, but when you don't do it, they cancel you. This is a much politer version of that one Twitter video of the Joker getting ready to say the N-word, and how much of a ridiculous buildup it was to that. Same energy. And it's the same energy because it is a complete and total disregard for the social norm. The new social norm now is social justice-oriented stuff, but it's a complete and total disregard for it. In fact, back before the social justice warriors held political power, they got a kick out of breaking the old social norm that was religious Christianity. The resurgent religious Christian right that kind of ran things back in the 90s. The proto-leftists back then really reveled in being edgy and, tipping their fedoras and stuff. This is the exact same kind of thing, and it's why they hate JonTron. But this stuff is everywhere, man, and I'm just tired of it. Nebraska Democrats renounced their Senate pick over his previous comments. Audio emerges of Jimmy Kimmel allegedly using the N-word back from 1996. Lana Del Rey, Doja Cat, and Jimmy Fallon have all been cancelled in the past month. The account Brother Nature has a history of racist tweets. It turns out those tweets happened when the person running the account was 12 years old. Connor Daly, a NASCAR driver, lost a sponsorship because of a racially insensitive remark made not by him, but by his father in the 1980s. And the left participates in it with glee. Sometimes they even call for it to happen themselves. I'm sure this attempt here by Christy Winters didn't really go anywhere because Christy Winters is a nobody, but they know exactly what kind of power they wield. And it's not just grassroots. We also know that this sort of thing is organized and corporate. TV networks have enlisted PIs to scour stars' social media for racism. They get clicks and therefore revenue when someone gets cancelled. So of course they want to push that shit. The left also knows to pick its targets well. Here's Owen Jones, the UK's resident bumbling idiot, on the whole Yorkshire tea thing that was happening a little while ago. You're clearly all having fun, but this hashtag sue you're shouting at tea thing is really disturbing. I realize this will all make Yorkshire tea a lot of money, but picking on a random member of the public being silly on Twitter, who we know nothing about and who sounds vulnerable, oh, so you're against cancel culture then, Owen? It sounds like it. Sounds like this random person just made a weird tweet and now everyone is descending on them. Sounds bad. Yorkshire Tea have told a far-right vlogger not to buy their tea again, and enraged right-wing extremists are throwing theirs in the bin. You absolutely love to see it. Oh, so cancel culture is only valid if you go after the right targets then, Owen, is that it? I don't even know which far-right vlogger you're talking about, but I do not trust your opinion on what the far-right actually is. But more to the point of this video, cancel culture is valid if the target of cancel culture has the wrong politics. From Dave Chappelle and Joe Rogan, to Andy Ngo and Laura Loomer, to Sargon and the Ralph Retort, cancel culture is wrong every single time it happens. Cancel culture is the tool of the person who wants to hurt someone else, but they have no actual reason to do so. They have no grievance, they haven't actually been harmed in any way. They can't bring something before a court, they have no receipts to show, but they hate you. Maybe they're jealous of you. Maybe they think you're a disgusting member of society and therefore you have to be purged, regardless of the truth on that. Maybe it makes themselves feel better to think that they've done some good in the world, and frankly, they don't feel good all that often, so they're just going to take what they can get. Maybe it just gives them that cathartic release that they've been searching for, just to hate on somebody. Whatever it is, it's illegitimate. And worst of all, this is something that the left actually fought against back when I was younger. It was the religious right that would employ a variant of cancel culture. Did you know that you have a gay person working for you? Maybe you should fire them. Maybe the children shouldn't be around them. Do you think it's appropriate after 9/11 to have a Muslim working in your shop? But nowadays, cancel culture comes from the left, as do those people that are now defending it. Critics of cancel culture really just hate democracy. You are technically correct if we're talking about the mob rule style of democracy, but there is no real justice in that. While our society rightly values protest and free expression, the critics of cancel culture turn this virtue into a vice, contemptuously dismissing those who collectively express their disapproval. This is not what's happening right now. People are free to cancel whoever they like. That is the power of the consumer boycott. In essence, Gamergate itself, back in the day, was cancel culture. And we can see just how badly the progressives reacted to being canceled back then. But the consumer boycott is one of the only things that regular people can do to affect change in the marketplace. But I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about what happens to people who have a neutral opinion, or who refuse to act. The people who choose not to virtue signal. They get cancelled as well. I know I keep resorting to the old well of horseshoe theory in this video, but it is very much like George Bush saying you're either with us or against us. I remember very vividly the left decrying that when it happened. But now that Bush is out of mind, they're doing the exact same thing. One of the artists who works on my channel drew a gender-bent variant of PewDiePie. Yikes! It looks like I'm taking a break from your shopping page. Of course you are. Sad, because I like their stuff, but right along with you. How come you're ignoring everyone who has a good reason to be angry? No one has a good reason to be angry. You're all stupid if you do. But liking everyone who supports this awful person. There was no reply, so I believe I asked why you're ignoring people. There is no legitimate reason to hate PewDiePie. He's not a Nazi. He's not an alt-righter. He's not a white supremacist. Your real problem with Pewds is that he's edgier. He still behaves in some ways like it's 2012 internet, just like I do. And because he won't take you and your politics 100% seriously, he's evil. I kept frantically hoping she would, catch every blatant hint people were throwing that this shit is bad, but she's actively ignoring. I don't want to speak for her. I would assume she just disagrees with you and thinks you are stupid. I'm really sad you're supporting a racist, anti-Semitic, alt-right edgelord. That's not kawaii at all. Please do some research into this guy's history and even current news. Why do you support a neo-Nazi who not only backs the alt-right, but is anti-Semitic, uses racial slurs against black people, and inspired a large massacre against innocent brown Muslims? I thought this was like a joke comment, but it's actually real. Yes, he's a goddamn neo-Nazi. This is the kind of content he's promoted. He followed prominent members of the alt-right on Twitter and then unfollowed them to hide the fact right after the massacre. You can't go around saying racist, derogatory comments and jokes against racial and religious groups and expect anything bad to come of it. This artist of mine sent me a few more funny things. My mutuals, if you're following Shadbase or Sludbox, I'm unfollowing. I adore y'all, but you have no reason to be following these toxic artists. Of course it had to be fucking Shadbase, dude. This is a study from Cambridge, titled Does Apologizing Work? An Empirical Test of Conventional Wisdom. Let's read the abstract. Public figures often apologize after making controversial statements. There are reasons to believe, however, that apologizing makes public figures appear weak and risk-averse, which may make them less likable and lead members of the public to actually want to punish them. When presented with two versions of the controversy surrounding Larry Summers, liberals and females were more likely to say that he should have faced negative consequences for his statement when presented with his apology. The effects on other groups were smaller or neutral. This suggests that when a prominent figure apologizes for a controversial statement, individuals are either unaffected or become more likely to desire that the individual be punished. It's a crazy study. It basically implies that apologizing for your edgy past doesn't actually do anything. And in fact, to the exact demographic of people who are demanding your apology, it lowers their opinion of you. I would like you to combine your knowledge of that study now with this exchange on Twitter. This verified lefty decides to draw a comic about cancel culture, and very clearly he is disdainful of the idea that cancel culture is bad, because he draws a comic about a guy who he gets canceled, and then he ends up kind of spinning his canceling into a career and makes a whole bunch of money. The reply to that is, shouldn't this make you want to not cancel people, given that it's effectively amplifying their voices through channels that take joy from their cancellation? And he simply replies, no. Cancel culture is not about doing good. It is not about righting wrongs. It is not about making the world a better place. It's not about education. It is about that cathartic release that a lefty feels when they've identified somebody that they view to be impure, and when they have, with their righteous indignation, purged them for the good of their community. I can only assume that the Christians of old who killed witches felt the exact same way when they did it. They had the perfect outlet for their impotent hate and rage. They had a way to oppress other people within a framework that makes them the victim, and they had the perfect moral cover to indulge in harming those around them. See? I told you at the beginning this wasn't just going to be a video about a personal event that happened to me. It's really not about that. That was just my springboard into the larger topic. My point with that was to show if those people had a large community and not a small one, which is what they have, you might see an attempt to cancel me right now. And you know what? Here, I'll just make it easy for you. Take this and clip it. Maybe I'll even clip it on my own channel just for convenience's sake. If cancel culture ever comes for me, here in one little package are all the hateful, terrible, racist, bigoted, misogynist, transphobic, xenophobic things that I believe, all in one go, okay? Here they are. I believe that gay people, trans people, people of any race, of any ethnicity, of any religion, deserve the same equal rights as anyone else. That also means they have the same responsibility to uphold others' rights as everyone else. Meaning that if you are a fanatic Muslim, no, you cannot simply kill gay people because they have a right to life. I believe that trans people should be allowed to do whatever they want. If they want to transition as adults, that's their business. They are legal adults. They can do what they like. However, I believe that children should not be allowed to medically transition with hormones until they turn 18, or at least the age of majority in your country. We don't let kids make serious decisions until they're adults. I think the same standard should apply with transitioning, and that does not make me transphobic. I believe that a liberal, free society requires a strong border. I believe that illegal immigrants flooding into a country depresses the value of labor in the market. Because why should a company pay you minimum wage when they can hire an illegal for half that price? Therefore, I believe one of the best ways to help the working class is to end illegal immigration and enforce border laws. However, I don't want those border laws enforced on a racial or ethnic basis. I am happy for any race or any ethnicity or even any religion of person to come to the West and live in a Western country, as long as they do so legally and they do so with the intention of upholding our values. And probably most importantly of all, I don't believe that hate speech should be censored. I believe that hate speech is properly countered with more speech, with better speech, with competent debate. I believe that if you censor hate speech, it's because you have no actual argument against it. And that means that either you're shit at debating, which is possible, or that your ideas are even worse than the hate speech that you're listening to. The leftists of my era understood that sunlight was the best disinfectant, meaning that when you engage people with radical ideas rather than isolate them and ban them from places, you end up de-radicalizing them, as long as your own ideas are actually sound. In banning people from discords, in banning them from social media platforms, in canceling them whenever something even minor happens, you are only serving to radicalize more people, not de-radicalize them. Now, if everything that I've just said to the progressives in 5 or 10 years make me equal to Hitler himself, because things have just gone that crazy in the future, then go ahead, cancel me. I don't fucking care anymore. But never, for the rest of my natural life, will I walk back any of the things that I just said. The natural impulse is to do so. When you have 1,000 people telling you that you fucked up, that you're the wrong one, the natural impulse is to say, oh man, with that many people, maybe I did make a big mistake. Like, am I wrong here? I don't want to be wrong. I don't want to be acting immoral. Did I actually hurt somebody? Nobody wants to be the person that hurt an innocent. I understand that, but we're past that point now. We are at the point where if you don't have the right politics, if you are neutral to what they consider to be evil, if you even simply stay silent and don't virtue signal, they consider you to be as evil as the original evil that they claim to fight. That is unacceptable, and I will not be a part of it.